We're going to join Steve Ryan outside Humber River Hospital as Detective John Park and the procession of his remains leaves the hospital. Steve, standing by.
Yeah, Andrew, it's a very sad time, of course, and you see the officer, his body is being escorted now to the morgue, and that looks like family coming out of the Sally Port there. Still trying to figure out if this was in the line of duty or a death on duty. But the reaction that I'm seeing here from the amount of officers and the emotion that they are all showing, it tends to push me towards this was in the line of duty as opposed to just a death on duty. But again, we're going to have to wait until, as the deputy said, there's going to be a postmortem done to get an actual cause of death. But this is a tremendous outpouring of a show of support and grief for an officer who died, whether died on duty or in the line of duty. It's a heartbreaking time, no matter how you look at it.
It is indeed, Steve. Now you can see these look like just colleagues.
They're officers.
They are officers indeed. Yeah, you can see some in uniform. I'm just looking now.
Yeah.
But this is dozens upon dozens of his colleagues and friends, and there's even children in the crowd. People that may have known him in a capacity as an uncle or family friend. We are supposing there, but there's a lot of people that wanted to make sure that they were here to join with Detective Park as he makes not his final journey, but a journey to the morgue to find out what happened and maybe give some closure to his family and friends.
Yeah, there's going to be an autopsy done to definitely help with why this officer died at such a young age while he was on duty. So again, is this a death on duty or in the line of duty? But I'm repeating myself, but the showing of support for this officer, and you saw that huge number of officers walking in procession with this escort. It looks like in the line of duty, but again, we're going to have to wait for an autopsy to be done to get an exact cause of death. But it's a tremendous amount of people down here, Andrew. A lot of people, a lot of police cars here, all just grieving together.
Well, I mean, Steve, I feel it's a little hard to ask you this for the first time as we're live on television, but have you ever been in a procession like this or had to be a part of something that, hurts like this?
Oh, yeah, I have a few times. And it really doesn't matter if the officer that died was your best buddy or it's just a colleague that was out doing the same job that you and others do day in and day out. There is a certain, I would say, connection that you have with them. And when one does die, it certainly does affect everybody. We just don't, right now, again, we just don't have any answers as to what caused this man's death. And that will come in due course, I'm sure. But yeah, I have been a part of these, and they certainly are gut-wrenching.
Yeah, sure. I don't doubt it. As Chopper 24 overlooks this procession beginning to wind through streets, including people walking behind the remains of Detective John Park. You see several dozen there. They will be making that journey with him as they look for answers as well. Now, usually it takes a few days for an autopsy's results to come through. That I'm expecting will still remain here, but there's a lot of answers still to come. Maybe they won't come as fast as people want, but at the same time, we do have to do that wait, Steve.
Yeah, we sure do. And the deputy alluded to word on the street, if you will, that there is some suggestion that the officer may have come into some contact with or narcotic or fentanyl, to be specific. That has not been confirmed, and that will only be confirmed once an autopsy is done and toxicology is done on the officer's remains. But she couldn't say that one way or the other, and I understand that 100% because this is a fresh investigation. All we know right now is that an officer died on duty.
Well,
line of duty is a different story, and we'll find that out when. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, well, what's the difference there in protocol, or at least what do you expect has to happen between now and us being able to share the results of even the autopsy, or just have some form of answers for viewers, but more importantly for his family?
Yeah, well, it's going to rely on the results of the autopsy, and if the autopsy results aren't back, we may be able to see that just based on the nature of the funeral itself, because I have been present, sadly, when I would say probably 4 or 5 officers in my time have died on duty, not in the line of duty, and it doesn't make it any less sad or has nothing to do with that. And their funerals weren't funerals like you would see in the line of duty. But what I'm seeing right now fits within the line of duty. But again, repeating myself for the 10th time, there needs to be some sort of conclusion, some sort of evidence as to why or how this officer died. And my understanding was that he was found by himself in a vehicle, is what I'm hearing. So that in and of itself is odd. Autopsy will figure out what caused it, what caused his death.
Steve, you may have to repeat yourself, but sometimes things do need and have to bear repeating. Steve Ryan, we appreciate you keeping an eye on this as Chopper 24 is doing live right now. I think we'll be checking in very soon as this procession does continue as well. I expect as we look for answers, we'll be chatting more about that in days to come. But Steve, just as we are wrapping up, is there anything you could tell viewers at home that you see that we may not be able to see from a bird's eye view?
Again, just the outpouring of support and grief for this officer who lost his life. It's very sad anytime a police officer dies, 100%. It's heartbreaking. It makes it even more difficult when an officer dies in the line of duty as a result of dying on duty with natural causes, per se. But we're just walking up to where the procession is taking place right now. And I don't know if you can see the shot or not, but you can see all the police cars and officers standing at attention as well. So again, this points to in the line of duty, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, we can see that now, and we're going to...
A lot of police cars.
A lot of cars, and we're going to continue here live here on CP24. You can see the as if soldiers on horseback, but the mounted unit of the Toronto Police Service, they're at attention. They are saluting Detective John Park of the Hold Up Squad, formerly now of the Hold Up Squad, as this procession of police cruisers, the ambulance, as well in the middle, go by. You can see everyone here lining the streets. There's no slouched backs there, you can see quite clearly. This, as you said, Steve, does have the semblance, the makings of what would appear to be a commemoration for an officer who lost their life in the line of duty, not during, as you were making that important distinction. And I know we are at a point where it would be incredibly unfair, not only to this detective and his family, but also to viewers to speculate too much there. But I also think, on the other hand, when you have a display like this, that there is much to be gleaned from it. And we would be blind or willfully blind if we didn't show that clearly this had an effect, and there may be something more to this than a medical episode. And we do want to stress may there.
Yeah, that's right. But if we just recall what we do know with regards to how the officer was found, and we were told that he was found in a vehicle by himself. So if you've got this healthy officer, part of his duty is executing a search warrant, returns back to his car, and then he's found in his car deceased, that raises a lot of questions. That alone explains a lot with regards to how the deputy, because it would be speculation. All they know right now is that he passed in his vehicle after executing a search warrant this morning. But again, as you say, what we're looking at with regards to all these emergency services personnel here standing at attention, that typically comes with in the line of duty. That's what we're seeing, but we can't confirm that because nobody's alluded to that by no means, and we can just only make some sort of draw some sort of thought based on what we're seeing right now. And that's what this speaks to me is the line of duty. But we'll have to wait and see.
We will, but one thing, in terms of where our thoughts do need to be, and we don't need to wait for this, is thinking about this man's, now his widow, and 2 kids under the age of 10 years old. Steve, when you were part of the Toronto Police Service, and I'm sure you would also know now, considering how you maintain as a crime analyst, keeping tabs on what goes on with the Toronto Police. Are there official resources for those that experience a loss or trauma like this, but also are there unofficial ones that come as being part of the police family, as it were?
Well, there are official resources put into place, and there certainly are support services for officers for a variety of different reasons why they might want to seek some sort of therapy or just talk to somebody with regards to what's gone on. But I can tell you, I ran into, I would say, a dozen officers who I know over the years, and they were crying. Uniforms, non-uniforms, they were in tears. Again, that tells me that this was a complete surprise, and there might be a lot more to this than what we know right now. But certainly there are a lot of sad people down here. Lots of tears, lots of heartache, for sure.
Now, Steve, just for people that wouldn't know, the distance between Humber River Hospital and getting to the coroner's office, how long does it take? Considering also how slow this procession goes, because it's not going at the speed of vehicles, it's going at the speed of the people in lockstep walking behind.
Yeah, so the coroner's building itself is basically maybe 2 blocks from the hospital. It's a brand new hospital in the coroner's building. They're all basically put on the same block, so it's not that far of
just go to chop or something so I can move and reframe a shot for you.
The quickness with regards to the officer being transported from the emergency to the morgue and having all of these police officers here on very little notice is also, very telling in a lot of ways as well, Ed.
It certainly is. And you mentioned now Detective Parks, his body would be entering the coroner's office. You see that the streets, though lined with police cruisers and fire trucks and ambulances, it's mostly clear of people that were walking behind. At the same time, it's clear that this is going to have a lasting impact. We are going to be waiting for the autopsy results. Like I was saying before, and Steve, I believe you would agree with me here, it's usually at least 24, if not 48 hours before we get something definitive, even if it's rushed.
Oh, that's for sure. Toxicology, of course, it's science, right? So that certainly takes some time to produce results as well. So I think if there is no anatomical cause of death, i.e. heart attack, aneurysm, anything of that nature, and it was some sort of drug ingestion by touch, if the person came in contact, and I'm not suggesting this has happened, but as an example, if somebody dies as a result of coming in contact with a dangerous drug, that's going to come back in toxicology, and toxicology certainly will take a fair bit of time to come back. That goes to the Center of Forensic Sciences, and the scientists there will analyze all of those fluids.
And Steve, we just got some news coming from our colleague Beatrice Vaisman, someone who has a lot of police sources, and she's telling us now that by people with firsthand knowledge, this was a medical emergency. That's the understanding that her sources have at this time. Does that change things at all in your mind when you see the outpouring of grief here? Does it truly matter because this life has been lost?
No. No. It doesn't matter one bit with regards to the manner in which this officer died. But if it was natural causes from a medical episode, let's say, the outpouring of grief and support here is beyond what I could explain to you. I'm just so heartbroken and surprised with the amount of officers here. If in fact this was a medical episode that would have happened anywhere, whether the officer was working or not working, but it certainly doesn't make the heartache any less either way, if you will.
No, the heart will ache what it's supposed to ache. And for those that knew this man, this detective, they definitely need to grieve. Steve, helping us throughout this process, through the procession. Thank you for informing people at home. Thank you for following this, and we will chat soon. Steve Ryan, our crime analyst, reporting from outside Humber River Hospital.